You are listening to the Life, Hope, and Leadership podcast with Nick Shabrinsky, a transparent, honest, and encouraging podcast to equip you through real-life experiences.
Hey, thank you guys for jumping in on these Life, Hope, and Leadership podcasts with me, Nick Shabrinsky. I hope that you are enjoying the content that is coming out of each and every episode. If you are, it means the world to me if you just take a second to hit that like, subscribe, or follow button on whatever platform you're listening on. And do me a favor, send it to a few people you think would benefit from the conversation. Also, don't forget that you can jump into the dialogue of each episode on the Spotify app by leaving comments about how you liked or disliked or whatever your takeaways were from each episode. So once again, thank you for being a part of the Life, Hope, and Leadership podcast community with me and all of those who are listening. So let's jump in to the next episode of Life, Hope, and Leadership. What's up, beautiful people? Thank you so much for making this podcast a part of your life. I'm really excited about today and today's episode. It's actually going to be two episodes releasing today, which is really cool. And one of them is going to be like the standard 15 to 20 minute podcast. And that I love is pretty much the foundation of what this whole channel will be about. Just these quick, chicken nugget thoughts. You're driving to work, getting something done. You can jump in. But I'm really excited about another thing. I've been talking about it for quite a while, and I did my first interview episode, and it's with a young man in our church. His name is Matt, and he's just an exceptional young man, and I thought there was a lot to be learned from every age bracket. And so we had a hour-long interview episode, and I know some of y'all are like, hey, I'd love to dive into that. And so here's how the podcast will be going forward. I canceled all of those who were already financially supporting. I actually stopped the supporting part of it because you can't have subscription and support on the same channel. And while I am not doing any of this for money, I wanted to make sure that if there are people that want to support, I know there's a lot of apps, a lot of podcasts, a lot of subscription-based stuff that people use. And if it's in your heart that you go, hey man, I want to support this podcast. I want to see it grow. I needed to get some more equipment in order to be able to do an interview podcast. And I want to make sure that I'm always able to offer the best possible to everybody who is making this a part of their life. And so if you were already supporting it, I just want you to know you should no longer see any charges on your monthly subscription because I had to shut that portion down. If you are interested in the special episodes, the longer episodes, the interview episodes, I promise they will bless you. They will encourage you. They will challenge you. They will push you in your life, hope, and leadership. But to listen to those, you will have to subscribe. And I'm not even sure how to do that yet. I'll probably try to subscribe to my own podcast just so that I have kind of understanding. But I'm not sure how that will work from Apple and from Google Podcasts, but I do know that on Spotify, it's very simple. So that being said, I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. And why did I do a subscription base for the longer episodes? Well, because as that grows, I think that there's going to be potential to have certain people on that may, require a potential fee. A lot of people are just like glad to be a part of a podcast, but I want to make sure that if there's somebody exceptional that I can bring in that is just like an out of the ordinary person that you would grow and thrive from, I would want to be able to do that. Want to make sure I can keep the podcast going. I want to make sure that as equipment needs replaced, I'm able to do that. And then also, like I said, I just have people that have wanted to show support. And so that's a way for us to balance both worlds. I know everybody doesn't want to listen to hour-long episodes or even more in some interviews, but I didn't want to cut that out just for the simple sake. So that being said, you'll still have the Life, Hope, and Leadership 15 to 20 minute podcast, and you'll have special episodes coming throughout. And then as the subscription base grows, I may end up throwing t-shirts in there every once in a while, giveaways. I don't know. I just think it's cool. And then the other reason why I did it was because as it grows, I don't want to do advertisements. And I don't know about y'all, but I kind of get irritated when I'm listening to a podcast I really enjoy and I have to listen to 5 minutes of them talk about some random, I love to drink Gatorade or something like that. I just don't want to do that. And I don't even know if I can stay focused enough to put random advertisements and stuff in the middle of an episode. So I hope that you guys love that. I hope you respect that. And if not, think about it. I still like you. I hope you still like me. So I wanted to do an episode today, and it's not going to be a long one because I got 1.5 billion things to do, but I have been running to the max, and I'm going to do an episode on just remembering or just gaining traction. But in that gaining traction, which is where I was going with this episode, it actually kind of hijacked. I was doing some research, and it looks like one of the most sought out podcasts in our society right now, I'm not even kidding. I am not, in no way am I joking with you. Majority of people who Google looking for podcasts are looking for podcasts that over and over again help them with mental health, depression, and anxiety. That is like the leading dialogue that we are having as a society: mental health, anxiety, depression. Most people, when we talk about mental health, are really talking about depression and anxiety. And so I think there's some things that we need to talk about in that. And I wanted to give you just a couple insights from my world and my thoughts that might help you. Now, this is obviously an endless amount of information we could talk about, because 64% of people in our nation right now are dealing with mental health struggles, and most of that is navigated around anxiety and depression. 42% of people right now that have been interviewed, 42% of people on a scale are saying that I feel anxious and depressed often. Sadly, only 20% of people are actually doing something to have consistent support or growth through their mental health. Now, I want you to think about something, and I want you to really get this in your heart. When we're talking about mental health, we have to believe that there is a such thing as mental healthy. And mental healthy, let's just talk about anything healthy. Nothing stays healthy if it stays ignored. Nothing will stay healthy. Nothing will get healthy if it stays ignored. And so I wanted to talk about this a little bit in today's episode. And I want to give you a little bit of a transparency into my life. I grew up in a home filled. My mom was a chill pill kind of queen. And we would joke and laugh and say, hey, Mom, you need to take a pill. But we weren't kidding. My mom had chill pills. I grew up with anxiety. I grew up around anxiety. I grew up in an aggressive and an abusive home in my childhood. Thank God that in my teenage years, God brought a good man into our life as a father figure, as a leader, and as an example. My brother was a masculine and a safe figure in my life growing up. But for much of my life, my sister and I and my mom, we grew up in a home that was filled with fear, and that strikes and roots anxiety and depression. I grew up, my mom was in a relationship that super depressed her, abusive relationship that caused her to live in fear. My sister and I, the same thing. And so we adopted anxious issues. And I want you to understand that when it comes to mental science, neurological science, emotional science, there is a lot of truth that you can develop emotional and mental health issues. So we got to be careful. I do believe that there are some people who chemically there are just imbalances, but we have to also accept the fact that sometimes unhealthy things are adopted. They're developed. They don't just come out of nowhere. And that's kind of one of the things I'm going to lean on a little bit as we talk. But I just wanted to share this because I want you to understand when I'm talking about anxiety, depression, suicidal feelings and tendencies, loneliness, these are things that I grew up with. And I'm not speaking out of a lack of empathy. I'm not speaking out of ignorance. I promise you. It has been something that I have had to battle in my life. There have been incredible victories, and most of the victories that I have experienced through depression came through community. A lot of breakthrough I've experienced through anxiety came through relationship with Jesus and his word. And it's crazy because depression is something that followed me in a much more defeated way. And I think because anxiety causes you to back down, but depression causes you to be alone. Isn't that weird? Most people get depressed, and one of those major leading catalysts, I guess to say, for depression for a lot of people is the feeling of loneliness. Man, I just feel lonely. I feel empty. And then it keeps you. And so you're depressed and feeling alone. So you feel lonely, and then you go get alone. And there's a scripture in the Bible, I think it's John 10:10, that Satan, the enemy, the devil, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Steal, kill, destroy. I want to steal from you. I want to steal the last. You know what's crazy about your enemy? Your enemy wants to steal every last thing you have. He wants to kill every last thing you have. And when I start stealing from you, I start killing the things in your life. I steal your hope. I kill your dreams. I destroy your life. And so these are things I dealt with over and over again. People were stolen from my life, situationally stolen, things that were killed. It was trying to destroy me. I became very suicidal, very depressed. And 15 years old, someone came to me and they said, "Hey, do you believe in Jesus?" And I said, "Well, I do. I believe in the existence. I believe there's a creator. But man, I was not okay with the idea of Christianity or religion. I didn't want to be into a bucket of conformity." But on September 28th, 1996, I decided that I told God, I said, "If you're real, I want you to change my life." And I opened my heart to Jesus that night. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning. And I want you to catch that. That was the beginning of overcoming depression and anxiety. I did not truly have the greatest victory in depression in my life, where it manifested with the ability to start seeing my way through the cloudy days and the dark tunnels. Really, the greatest victory in my depression came much, much later with proactively navigating the feelings of mental health, reading, listening to wisdom and mentorship from podcasts, videos, sermons, going to church, mentors in my life, community in my life, brothers and sisters in Christ in my life for years. So 15, I get saved. I'm almost 35 years old, 36 years old, somewhere in there. And my wife, God uses my wife to kind of really snap the back of a heavy onset depression. Now, do I still feel feelings of depression? Yes. But have I gone into these deep, dark tunnels that I used to for days, weeks, months, sometimes? No. And the reason I share that testimony with you is because wherever you are, I want you to realize a couple things. Number one, I want you well, let me back up. When we're looking at statistics of depression, anxiety, there's some thoughts, okay? First of all, 20% of people say they're actually actively doing something. So one of the things I did was I wanted to be a part of that 20%. When I actively was taking steps towards mental health, remember, if there's mental health, then we have to get on the scale. We say mental health. I think most people adopted that phrase from the mindset of defeat and that there's no way out. So we go, "Oh, people are dealing with mental health." No. I don't go to the gym and say I'm dealing with physical health. I go, "Hey, I go to the gym to work out." So I read books to work out. I listened to mentors to work out. I listened. I changed the way I thought to work out. I went to church to work out. I listened to the Holy Spirit to work out. I read my Bible to work out. So when we're talking about mental health, we have to get on the scale of healthy and unhealthy. Because if we're really talking about mental health, then there's both. If we're talking about physical health, we don't just say, "Oh, I'm dealing with physical health." No, I'm getting healthy, or I feel unhealthy. I need to do something about it. So when it comes to mental health, I want you to think about this. I want you to say it out loud right now with all accountability. If you're driving down the road, give yourself a glance in the rearview mirror. If you're sitting in your house, go look in the mirror. I want you to take a selfie, get a video, and literally just say, "What are you going to do about it?" What are you? Not what is somebody else. I can't do anything about your mental health. I can help you by sharing how I deal with mental health and healthiness and what makes me mentally unhealthy. Well, here's why is mental health all of a sudden one of the greatest pandemics of our society, more than COVID-19, more than cancer, more than disease, more than hatred, what is one of the greatest crippling diseases of our modern day society? I would tell you mental health, anxiety, depression. And what is something that has changed in the last 20 years that statistics for young people and older people alike are on the rise for suicide, depression, anxiety, prescription? Well, 3.5 hours is the average amount of time that an adult spends on their cell phone. And 8.5 hours is the average time a teenager right now is spending on their cell phone a day. Not a week, not a month, a day. I believe the saying is if you study any one topic, reading books, studying it full time for 5 years, you become a professional mentally on that. So imagine if you spend 3 to 8 hours a day on social media. Okay, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing on social? Are we engaging? Or are we just screaming at somebody through text messages and through comments? Are we learning things? Are we on tutorials? Are we on brain games? Are we doing things that proactively add to our mental health? Or are we simply living idly by scrolling and watching and observing? So here's some things that we have to realize. Let's talk about some teenager mental health. And I believe a lot of these statistics would kind of resonate true with the adults. But U.S. teens right now, when they were asked about their experiences in the last 3 months, 60% reported feeling and experiencing depression. 60%. That means if we had 6 of 10 of our teenage children sitting in a line, if 6 out of 10 of them would be saying, hey, I'm pretty depressed right now, that's a problem. Almost 70% said they reported high anxiety. Let's talk about high anxiety. What does that mean? Crippling anxiety. I can't function. What is the root in our brain of anxiety? It is death. It's crazy to think that the very part of our brain that triggers when we're dealing with anxiety is the same part of the brain that our ancestors would have triggered if a lion was chasing them through the jungle. And so we're going into safe spaces most of the time, acceptable spaces, but we are going in there with this lie that we are going to get eaten. And almost 70% of our children are living with crippling anxiety. 75% of our teenagers, almost 8 of 10, are saying that they are living with feelings of heavy loneliness. And 35%, almost 4 out of 10 of them, said they thought about taking their own life. So if we see symptoms, the first thing you're going to do, if I go to the doctor and say, hey man, it really hurts my arm when I move it like this, the doctor's going to go here, here, here. They're going to touch, they're going to feel, they're going to ask questions. Then they're going to say, did something happen when this pain started to occur? So one of the things that is consistently happening is we are getting more and more lost in scrolls and in pokes and in likes and in emojis. And we have a generation, and not just young people, a generation all around that is feeling lonely. But meanwhile, we have each other at the edge of our fingertips, but we have information, but we don't have quality relationships. And so I think it's important that if you're going to want to talk about mental health, we need to talk about mental healthy. We need to look at the symptoms, but we need to look at what happened to cause these things. And so one of the biggest parts about anxiety and depression is you have to talk to yourself, self-talk. You have to master the truth. And the Bible says the truth shall set you free, that you shall know it, and it will set you free. So you can't just hear it, you have to know it. So you're looking for truth. We become a society where people don't want truth. I believe in truth. I love truth. You can put it in the comments. I want truth. So I said this, and I'm going to say this: get up, get moving, and get motivated. Get up, get moving, get motivated. Let me tell you something. Sometimes you got to go to the gym before you're motivated to be there. Sometimes it's not until you're moving that you want to start moving. It's like, what's that saying? It's hard to get the train to stop, but once it starts moving to start, but once it starts moving, it's harder to get it to stop. Let me say that again. It's hard to get a train to start moving, but once you get it moving, it's harder to get it to stop. And I want you to understand that what God has put in you is a powerhouse. You were created with purpose. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you believe. You can hate me. You can disagree with me. But I believe God created you. And the Bible that I read says that he created you with purpose, provision, plans to prosper you, plans for you to be a priest and a king and to rule and to lead. So you got to get up. You got to get moving. And then you got to get motivated. And when you get motivated, you got to stay motivated. My next podcast will be all about staying motivated, because there are times where you just simply don't know what to do. You get lost in that. That being said, we have so much to do, but so many of us ain't doing nothing at all. And so I gave you I'm going to give you 5 things real quick, and then we're going to get off of here, and you'll be able to enjoy the 1-hour interview podcast and more of those coming just by hitting that subscribe button. Figure it out. Let me know your thoughts. But that being said, here are 5 things that I want you to do in order to clear up anxiety and depression. A lot of times anxiety and depression comes from a false idea of perfection. So the first thing I want you to do, I want you to accept imperfection. You're not supposed to look like somebody else. You're not supposed to be like somebody else. And although we can learn from one another, we can get better from one another, the fact is everybody's unique. Everybody's different. And if everybody is different, then there's really no form of perfection. The only perfect person I ever seen was Jesus. Every major world religion testifies of how awesome he is and was. And so if I'm going to try to be like anybody, I want to be like him. But even then, the Bible says everybody has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So I know that no matter how perfect I want to be, it's very, 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 very impossible to hit that. And so I want you to accept imperfection. It's okay your house isn't perfectly clean. It's okay your car's dirty an extra day. It's okay you have to put something off. It's okay that some people don't like you. It's okay that you might have lost some friends. It's okay that you might be gaining new people. It's okay that your job is changing. It's okay. Accept imperfection. This will give you so much freedom in your mental health so you can get mental healthy. Number 2, I want you to accept personal accountability. One of my favorite podcasts that I listened to, Rob Dial, he was sharing in one of his podcasts. He said, you know what? You can't sit there and say, oh, this is giving me anxiety. This is overwhelming. This is making me feel dumb. This is making me feel inadequate. This is making me feel ugly. No, you go, you know what? When I say that does it, I'm not taking personal accountability. So what I can do is go, man, I'm watching too much TV. It's making me anxious. I have too much to do. Okay, I have to take responsibility. I'm taking personal, turn off the TV, stop eating that, stop drinking that, stop whatever that is causing the anxiety, the depression. Take personal accountability and cut that thing out. It's time to make changes, okay? It's time to make changes. Come on, everyone say changes. So the third thing, I want you to create realistic expectations. We're not going to be perfect. Okay, so if I want to, let's say this, I have another book that I've already started. It's almost done, and my butt has not done anything with it. So therefore, I started getting anxious about it. I started getting depressed about it. So now I need to go, dude, you could have this done if you would just take an hour or a half hour to an hour a day for the next week or 2 and just put into the book, finish it up. Let's get it out there. Okay, wow, that takes a lot of load off. Half hour, that's it? All I got to do is focus. Oh, wow, that's realistic. I can do that. Hey, man, you need to get this done tomorrow. Unrealistic. Hey, man, you need to get that done yesterday. Can't happen. And so all these things that you wanted done yesterday, you can't do them yesterday because yesterday's gone. So then the next, I want you to realize, okay, clear expectations. Okay, well, if I have realistic expectations, then let's create some clear goals and plans. And so that's one of the most important things. My friend Nick taught me this more than anybody ever has. That dude is a clear goal kind of guy. So every day he goes in, what's my goals? What's my goals? What's my goals? Okay, what goal do I want to do next? Okay, now I need a plan. And then last but not least, and this will be a part of the next podcast, is if you're going to have clear goals and plans, don't mind the voice of my chihuahua. But if you're going to have clear goals, clear plans, then you need to make clear priorities. What comes first? So, hey, I want to write another book. Okay, well, why don't you finish the other book first? Why don't you finish the one you started first? Your kids go, can I have seconds? What do you say? Well, why don't you finish what you already have first and see how you feel? And so giving these clear priorities, stop putting so much on you. Stop comparing yourself. That perfection, we have young people and old people alike, all ages, scrolling, looking at fake lives, Instagram stuff, artificial intelligence created content, things that just although they're great to aspire for, they don't happen overnight typically, and they do not happen easily. Not everybody's going to do this, that, or the other thing, but you're special. You're different. You're unique. There's something significant in you. And I want you to go, you know what? I'm not supposed to be perfect. I'm going to keep working on what I can do. I'm going to change what I can change. I'm going to have proper, realistic expectations. I'm going to create real goals, and I'm going to start prioritizing. So that being said, I hope that encourages you. I hope that helps you. And I hope that with this podcast, you'll just go, you know what? I can take a little bit of load off my shoulders and breathe. And I want you to breathe. So that being said, thanks, guys, for tuning in. I hope that you'll enjoy this podcast, and the next one's coming up. I hope that you'll consider subscribing so you can watch and listen in on the, listen in on the longer episodes. And I'd love your thoughts in the Spotify. You can leave comments on each and every episode. That being said, you guys are awesome. Change your world this week. And thank you so much for being a part of this podcast world.
You are listening to the Life, Hope, and Leadership Podcast with Nick Shabrinsky, a transparent, honest, and encouraging podcast to equip you through real life experiences.